Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello. We have quite a few new eyeballs on this channel, which is so much fun. So if you don't know me already, hello. My name is Alivia Brown and I am currently a fourth year undergraduate student at UCLA studying anthropology. And today we're going to be talking about minors that pair well with the anthropology major. Now, I want to start this video off by saying that no minor goes badly with the anthropology major. I personally believe that minors should be fun. It should be something that you're interested in, something that you enjoy doing. With all of that said, I am going to suggest some minors for you guys that I think complement the ideas of anthropology well. So with all that said, let's just get into it. So I'm going to start this video off with a broad strokes recommendation for where I think you guys should start, a good starting point for looking for minors. And then from there, we're going to get into some very specific minors that I think go well with anthropology. But first and foremost, I've said this about 100 times on this channel already, but anthropology actually has four main subfields, and those subfields are biology, culture, archaeology, and linguistics. Now, let's say that you're doing the anthropology major and you tend to have a preference for one of these subfields. This is what happens to most people. Now, within the anthropology major, because it's so broad, at most universities, you're expected to take courses in all the subfields. So you have to take classes in cultural anthropology, in archaeology, in linguistics, and biology. And so if you have this preference for one of them, you don't really get the opportunity to deepen your knowledge of that subfield maybe as much as you'd want. So that's my first big suggestion. Further your interest of the subfield through your minor. So if you're interested in linguistics, maybe do a linguistics minor or a Spanish or French or whatever language minor. If you're interested in archaeology, maybe minor in forensic science. Then finally, if you're interested in culture, maybe you want to do a minor in ethnic studies or comparative religion. Or biology, like I said, my minor is actually called evolutionary medicine, but you could minor in biology and developmental biology and ecology, like whatever it is that interests you. I hope that all makes sense because that was kind of a lot of information to throw at you all at once. Now we're going to switch gears into some more specific recommendations because I know that's why you're all here, and some of them are going to be more obvious and some of them are less obvious. So without further ado, we're going to start with the first one, and that is history. Now, anthropology looks at humans and human culture across time and across history, whereas history looks at human organization and people more specifically in a specified period of time. So basically what that means is you have two fields that are coming at understanding humanity with very different perspectives in mind. So I personally am of the belief that if you had a major in anthropology and a minor in history, that actually puts you in a really good starting point for getting a full and well-rounded understanding of humans and human culture. Because if you think about it, history is the reason that we've gotten to where we are today. So if you have anthropology that studies modern humans and you have history that studies past humans, and you put it together, I mean, that seems like a pretty good match to me. Now, I actually did make a video on the differences between history and anthropology, so if you're interested in that, I'll link it right here and in the description box down below. But now on to the next minor. Now, the next minor that I am going to be suggesting to you guys today is gender studies. And actually, I think this is probably more common now at a lot of universities. But I would argue that gender studies is a more centralized version of anthropology. Like I said at the beginning of this video, anthropology is very broad. It covers a lot of different topics because humans are pretty broad things. But gender studies actually looks at these more specific ideas like identity construction and how that's impacted by things like race, by things like culture, by religion, by sexuality, by gender, obviously, and all these other factors. Now, anthropology gives you those broader tools to understand humanity, right? But gender studies, I think, really puts the magnifying glass in your hand and allows you to take a closer look at how these things are actually happening in specific communities and specific cultures all around the world. Now, the third minor that I'm going to be talking about is actually my personal favorite. And my school doesn't actually offer a minor in this, I don't think. I'm pretty sure that we don't. And that minor is psychology. Now, I've come to find that anthropology and psychology have a lot in common, but they have a lot that's different as well. And let me tell you why. Psychology gives an attention to the physiology of the mind, of the brain. It looks at the actual mental mechanisms that go into human behavior. And so if you think about it, the best way that I can explain this is like psychology is the back end of human behavior, right? And anthropology studying the front end. So if I make a decision, right? Let's say I decide to read a book right now, right? Anthropology is going to be looking at how does her family impact their decision to read that book? How does her current situation impact her to read that book, right? Like all these factors that go into me making this decision. But psychology is looking a lot more at the brain. What's happening in her brain to make her make that decision, right? And so you have these two things interacting together. And kind of like the history minor, I think this is really valuable because you're coming at understanding humanity with two different perspectives. My point here, the point that I'm trying to make is I think psychology is the underlying reasoning for everything that anthropologists assert, right? Our psyche impacts our behavior. So why not minor in psychology and major in anthropology? I think that would be a really great pair, but now on to the next. Now this fourth and final minor, I was actually a little bit hesitant to put into this video because I think some people are very pro combining these two fields of study and other people are very con combining these two fields of study. But the minor that I have decided to put at the end of this video is actually sociology. Now, the reason that this choice might be a little bit controversial is because anthropology and sociology in many ways are very similar fields. They look to understand humans, and yeah. But the difference here is how these fields of study actually go about understanding people. And oftentimes they kind of exist in opposition to one another, right? They look to understand people in different ways that don't necessarily complement one another and might actually disagree with one another. So then, Olivia, why would you put this on the list? I think that they're just different enough to the point where it's actually more beneficial to study both. Now, sociology looks at huge, large-scale populations. So an example of a sociology study might be sending out a mass survey to understanding nicotine addiction in like teens, right? That could be a sociology study. But an anthropology study would look at maybe a select group of 5 or 10 teens and see really what it is about nicotine addiction that impacts their lives and how their families might have impacted that, how their friends have impacted that, how the culture has impacted that, all these things, right? And neither one of these methods gives us all the answers. So why not combine them? If you can look at one issue that's happening in the world from a very wide scale, large breadth perspective like sociology, and then you can also dive in really specifically at smaller groups and populations like anthropology, then I think that actually gives us our best shot at actually understanding something realistically. So I personally believe that anthropology and sociology might actually be the perfect combination. Once again, I did make a video talking about the differences between sociology and anthropology that I will link right here if that's something that you're interested in diving a little bit more deeply into. But that's actually all the minors that I had prepared today. I am an evolutionary medicine minor and I absolutely love it. I personally do think it complements my biological anthropology interest perfectly, and that's something that I'm very grateful for. So if that's the path that you wanted to go, back up your subfield a little bit, I would highly recommend. Now, if you are an anthropology major, tell me what your minor is. I love having conversations down in the comment section down below. So please do share because I would love to hear, and I'm sure the viewers of this video would also love to hear. And let me know what you guys want to see. All right, that's actually all I have to say this week, so I will see everybody next Sunday. All right, you guys. Bye.